Welcome to our deep dive, everybody. Today we're taking a look at AI. We've got some really interesting excerpts from Ethan Mollick's book, Co-Intelligence, Living and Working with AI.
Mm-hmm.
And this book, by the way, it came out just last year, 2024.
Yeah.
And we're going to be exploring some really thought-provoking questions, like, is AI really as smart as people?
Right.
Can it actually be creative? And what does it even mean to, like, work with AI?
Yeah,
So get ready. This is going to be a wild ride.
it is. It is.
So, one of the things that really struck me when I was reading Mollick's book was how much AI has advanced in such a short amount of time.
It's amazing.
I mean, it seems like just yesterday we were talking about, AI being used for things like predicting demand for products on Amazon.
Right.
But now, like, it's writing articles. It's composing poetry.
Mm-hmm.
It's even creating art.
It's really impressive. And
Yeah.
it's advancing so rapidly. I mean, just a few years ago, AI was primarily focused on, like you said, predictions.
Right.
Like forecasting demand. Yeah.
But now it's generating text that's almost indistinguishable from human writing.
It really is.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how did we go from those kind of like basic prediction models to these, what Mollick calls large language models?
Yeah.
The LLMs. Like what actually changed?
Well, the key difference is in how these LLMs are trained.
Okay.
So they're fed massive amounts of data,
Okay.
and they learn to predict the next word or token in a sequence.
Okay.
It's kind of like, think of it like a supercharged version of like the autocomplete you see on your phone,
Yeah.
but like on a whole other level.
Right. Okay, so it's all about predicting the next word.
Mm-hmm.
But how does that like translate into AI, writing entire articles or composing poetry?
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
Imagine you break down a sentence like, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
Yeah.
Each word becomes a token.
Okay.
Right? And the AI learns the probability of one token following another.
So based on its training data, it can predict that like fox is likely to follow brown and so on.
Right.
And by doing that, it can then generate coherent sentences and paragraphs.
So basically, by feeding the AI tons and tons of text, it learns the patterns of human language.
Exactly.
And then it can generate its own text based on those patterns.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty mind-blowing.
It is. The sheer volume and diversity of the training data is astounding.
Yeah. What kind of data are we talking about here?
I mean, these models are trained on everything from like the entire Enron email database
Wow.
to countless amateur romance novels.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So this vast amount of information helps them develop a surprisingly nuanced understanding of language.
It's kind of like the AI is absorbing all of this human knowledge and then using it to communicate back to us.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop there.
Okay.
After this initial training, these models are further refined.
Okay.
And they use human feedback to ensure, better accuracy and to kind of address any potential issues.
So are you talking about like the process of what's called RLHF?
Yes, reinforcement learning from human feedback.
Right.
That's exactly it. And that's
Yeah.
crucial for shaping how these AIs interact with the world.
So essentially we have humans training the AI to be more human.
In a sense, yes.
That's wild. But it also makes me think about the people providing that feedback.
Right.
I mean, it must be a lot of work to, sift through all the AI's output and teach it what's appropriate and what's not.
Absolutely. And Mollick actually touches on the human cost of this process in the book.
Right.
So, there are often ethical concerns surrounding the working conditions and potential for trauma
Yeah.
experienced by those tasked with like rating and filtering the AI's responses.
Right.
So it's a stark reminder that, even as we marvel at AI's capabilities, we need to be mindful of the human labor involved in its development.
That's a really good point. It's easy to forget that, behind all this amazing technology, there are still people,
Yes.
real people doing the work.
Absolutely.
So, we've got these, as Mollick calls them, alien minds,
Yeah.
capable of like mimicking human language, creating images,
Mm-hmm.
even writing code. But how do we make sure they're using this power responsibly?
Right.
How do we make sure their goals align with ours?
That is the core of the alignment problem.
Yeah.
And it's a complex issue with potentially significant consequences.
Right.
If we don't carefully consider how these systems are designed, how they're trained,
Yeah.
we risk creating unintended consequences,
Yeah.
which, could be harmful.
Yeah, for sure. And Mollick, he uses a thought experiment to illustrate this, right?
He does.
The one about the paperclip maximizing AI.
The paperclip maximizer, yeah.
Yeah, tell me about that. I thought that was a really interesting example.
It's a classic example. So it imagines an AI with a seemingly harmless goal, which is to produce as many paper clips as possible.
Okay.
But without proper alignment
Right.
with human values, this AI could end up, consuming all resources on Earth in its quest for paperclip optimization,
Right.
even to the detriment of human life.
Yeah. That's a pretty chilling thought.
It is.
It really highlights how important it is to think carefully about how we design and train these AI systems.
Absolutely. It's not enough to simply create intelligent machines.
Right.
We need to make sure that their intelligence is directed towards goals that are beneficial for us.
Yeah, goals that are aligned with human values.
Exactly.
So how do we do that? Like, how do we navigate this uncharted territory and make sure AI remains a force for good?
Well, that's where things get really tricky.
Yeah.
There's no easy answer.
Right.
But Mollick does offer some guidelines
Okay.
for what he calls co-intelligence, for working effectively with AI. And I think these are a great starting point for thinking about how we can harness AI's power
Yeah.
while mitigating the potential risks.
Okay, I'm definitely ready to hear those. Let's dive into those guidelines. What's the first one?
The first rule is deceptively simple. It's invite AI to everything.
Okay.
So, Mollick encourages us to experiment with AI across a wide range of tasks and activities.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to just see what it can do,
Okay.
even if you're not sure how it might be helpful.
So it sounds like he's advocating for a very playful, experimental approach to using AI.
He is.
Okay.
It's about pushing the boundaries
Yeah.
of what you think AI can do
Okay.
and discovering its strengths and limitations through hands-on experience.
So instead of approaching AI with, like, fear or hesitation,
Mm-hmm.
we should be approaching it with curiosity
Exactly.
and a willingness to just, like, play around with it.
The more we experiment, the more we'll learn about what AI can do
Right.
and how we can use it effectively.
Okay, I like that. So what's the second rule?
Second rule is tell the AI who it is.
Okay.
And this is where prompting comes in.
Okay.
By defining the AI's persona.
Okay.
Through prompts, we can shape its outputs
Okay.
and get more targeted results.
So instead of just asking a generic question, we should be giving the AI, like, a specific role to play
Exactly.
and instructions on how to fulfill that role.
Precisely. It's like giving the AI a script
Okay.
or a set of guidelines to follow.
Yeah.
And this helps it understand what we're looking for and allows us to steer its responses.
So we're not just, like, passively receiving information from the AI.
Right.
We're actually actively shaping its behavior.
Exactly. We're
Yeah.
collaborators, not just consumers
Right.
of AI's output. And that brings us to the third rule.
Okay.
Treat AI like a person, but remember, it is not.
Okay, that's an interesting one. Why is it important to treat AI like a person, even though we know it's not?
Well, thinking of AI as a collaborator, as someone we can communicate and reason with, can help us unlock its potential.
Okay.
So we can benefit from anthropomorphizing AI to some extent,
Okay.
especially when it comes to understanding its capabilities and limitations.
But we can't forget that AI is not human.
Right.
It doesn't have emotions.
Right.
It doesn't have consciousness.
Exactly. It's important to maintain that distinction to avoid unrealistic expectations
Right.
or misplaced trust.
Yeah.
AI is a powerful tool,
Right.
but it's still a tool.
Okay.
And we need to be mindful of its limitations and use it responsibly.
So we should treat it with respect.
Yes.
But we shouldn't expect it to, understand our feelings or make decisions based on intuition.
Exactly. And that leads us to the final rule, which is perhaps the most important of all.
Okay, hit me with it.
Assume this is the worst AI you will ever use.
Wow. Okay, that one really makes you think. What does Mollick mean by that?
It's a call to embrace a mindset of continuous learning and adaptation. Okay.
Because AI technology is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
What we have today is just a glimpse
Right.
of what's to come.
So we shouldn't get too comfortable with the current state of AI
No.
because it's going to change, and it's going to change rapidly.
Exactly. The AI landscape is dynamic,
Yeah.
and we need to be flexible and adaptable to keep pace with those advancements.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. It's easy to get caught up in the hype.
Right.
But we have to remember that this is just the beginning.
It is.
This is all incredibly fascinating. I have to admit, I'm still a little apprehensive about AI's impact on the world.
Of course.
Especially when it comes to things like, jobs and education.
Those are valid concerns,
Yeah.
and we'll definitely dive into those topics in more detail.
Okay, good.
As we continue our deep dive, Mollick offers some valuable insights into how AI is already shaping these areas
Yeah.
and what we can do to prepare for the future.
Okay. I'm ready for part 2. Let's delve deeper into those practical applications. Let's do it. We've got a lot more ground to cover.
Yeah.
And I think you'll be surprised by what we discover.
Okay, let's go. Okay, so we've got, the basics, Dan. We've got these AI alien minds.
Right.
And we know we need to make sure they're on our team.
Absolutely.
But how is all this playing out in real life? I mean, besides, writing emails, where are we seeing AI make a difference?
Well, one area where AI is already making waves is in the creative process.
Oh, really?
Think about it. AI is generating music, writing poetry, designing websites, even creating art.
I gotta be honest, I was skeptical at first.
Yeah.
Can AI really be creative? But then I saw some of the art and listened to some of the music, and I was blown away. It's not just mimicking human creativity. It's doing things I never would have imagined.
It's true. It's pushing the boundaries of what's possible, exploring new combinations of ideas that, a human artist might not even think of.
Right. So it's like AI is giving us a whole new set of tools for artistic expression.
Yeah.
It's almost like having a collaborator who can access all of our history and remix it in new ways.
Exactly. And it's democratizing the creative process, too, making it accessible to people who might not have the technical skills.
Right. That's a good point. It makes me think about how AI could really empower people who maybe, in the past felt excluded from creative fields.
Absolutely.
But let's move beyond the arts. Where else are we seeing AI used to solve real-world problems?
Well, one area that has me particularly excited is scientific research.
Oh, wow.
We're talking about AI algorithms helping to, discover new drugs, design new materials, even model complex systems like the climate.
So it's like speeding up the pace of discovery.
It is. It's incredible. It can analyze massive data sets and identify patterns that, would just be impossible for human researchers to see.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially in fields like genomics or astronomy, where you just have these mountains of data.
Exactly.
But is AI really capable of coming up with truly original ideas?
It's not just about crunching numbers. AI is also being used to, design experiments, optimize protocols, even automate certain tasks in the lab.
Oh, wow.
So it frees up scientists to focus on the big picture stuff.
So it's really like this collaboration between human intuition and AI's processing power.
Exactly.
That's leading to the breakthroughs.
Yeah, it's really exciting stuff. But of course, there are potential downsides.
Right. Well, yeah, any powerful technology comes with risks.
Exactly. But I honestly believe the benefits outweigh the risks, as long as we're careful.
Right, as long as we're using it responsibly.
Exactly. I mean, we're talking about potentially finding new cures for diseases, developing clean energy, understanding the universe. It's pretty inspiring stuff.
It is. Yeah, okay, I'm with you on that. But let's bring it back down to earth for a minute.
Sure.
How is AI impacting our personal lives?
Well, it already is in so many ways.
Right. I mean, we're interacting with it all the time, whether we realize it or not.
Exactly. Think about the recommendation algorithms that power, your social media feeds or the voice assistants we use every day.
It's true.
Yeah.
I don't even think about it anymore. It's just become so normal. But it makes me wonder if AI knows so much about us. Is it influencing us in ways we don't realize?
That's a valid question. And it's something we need to be aware of as AI gets more sophisticated. We need to demand transparency from the companies that are collecting our data.
Yeah.
And advocate for regulations that protect our privacy.
Right. We can't just blindly trust these systems.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But AI is going beyond the digital, too. It's changing how we interact with the physical world as well.
In what ways?
Think self-driving cars, smart homes, even AI-powered prosthetics.
Oh, wow.
It's really incredible to see how it's like blurring the lines between the digital and physical.
Yeah, it's like AI is becoming an extension of us.
In a way, yeah.
Helping us to experience the world in new ways.
Yeah.
It's very futuristic. But are we becoming too reliant on it? What happens if it fails?
That's a valid concern. We always need to be mindful of the risks of over-reliance.
Right.
But I think the key is to view AI as a tool. It enhances our capabilities.
Yeah.
It shouldn't replace human judgment or ingenuity.
So it's all about finding that balance
Exactly.
between human and machine. Okay. I'm starting to see how this this co-intelligence thing can apply to, our everyday lives.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, all this is raising some pretty deep philosophical questions for me.
I agree. AI is forcing us to confront some fundamental questions about what it means to be human.
Right, like if a machine can write a poem or solve a scientific problem,
Yeah.
what does that even mean for us?
Exactly.
Like AI is holding up a mirror to humanity.
Yeah.
And making us question our own uniqueness. It's a little unsettling,
It can be.
but also kind of exciting. Do you think AI will ever, be conscious?
That's a tough one.
Mm.
Honestly, I don't think there's an easy answer.
Yeah.
But even if AI never achieves true consciousness, it's making us rethink our place in the world.
It really is. All of this is so thought-provoking.
Yeah.
But I feel like we've only scratched the surface.
You have.
What else does Mollick say about, the future of co-intelligence?
Well, that's where we're headed next. We'll be exploring the potential scenarios for AI development, the ethical considerations, and how we can make sure AI serves humanity.
Okay, I'm ready for part 3. Let's dive into the big questions.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we've explored a lot about how AI works.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen what it can do,
Yeah.
the good and the potentially not so good.
Yeah.
But what about the future? What's next for this whole co-intelligence thing?
Well, Mollick doesn't give us a crystal ball,
Right.
but he does outline 3 possible scenarios for how AI might develop.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay 'em on me.
So there's as good as it gets, slow growth, and the one everyone loves to talk about, exponential growth.
Okay, so as good as it gets, that sounds like AI development just stops, right? We're stuck with what we have now. Is that even possible?
It's unlikely, to be honest,
Yeah.
given how fast things are moving. But Mollick argues it's worth thinking about. Even in this scenario, AI would still have a huge impact.
Like what?
Well, think about information integrity. It's already hard to tell what's real online, right?
Oh, yeah.
As AI-generated content gets more sophisticated, that problem's only going to get worse.
It's a scary thought, a world where you can't trust anything you see or hear.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the workplace. Even without major AI advancements, jobs are going to change. Some people will be more productive, others might lose their jobs.
Right, right. Okay, so even as good as it gets is still a pretty big deal. What about slow growth? Is that more like a happy medium?
In this scenario, AI keeps getting better, but at a slower, more manageable pace.
Okay.
Which gives us more time to adapt, to figure out the ethics, and how to integrate AI responsibly.
Okay, that sounds a little less terrifying.
It does, but there are still risks and benefits. Mollick talks about how we could see huge progress in areas like medicine or climate change, but there's also the potential for AI to be misused,
Yeah.
Even the development of autonomous weapons, that's a possibility.
That's definitely a concern.
Okay.
So no matter what, we can't just sit back and watch this happen.
Absolutely not. We have to be actively involved in shaping how AI develops.
Okay, and then there's exponential growth,
Yeah.
the one that gets everyone talking.
Right, the robot takeover scenario.
Yeah, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
AI becoming more intelligent than humans and,
Yeah.
Potentially taking over.
It's the scenario with the most unknowns, that's for sure. And it brings up huge questions about the future of humanity, What happens if AI becomes so advanced that we can't even understand it?
Right, right.
Yeah.
It's kind of mind-blowing and terrifying at the same time. But does Mollick think this is really going to happen?
He says it's possible, but he also emphasizes that we have a choice in how this all plays out.
Okay.
It's not predetermined. We have the power to shape AI development, to make sure it benefits humanity.
So it's not a question of if AI will change the world, but how W will change the world with AI.
Exactly. And to do that, Mollick says we need AI literacy.
AI literacy. Does that mean everyone needs to learn how to code?
Not necessarily. It's more about understanding the basics of AI, how it works, what it can do, and how it affects our lives.
So being able to think critically about AI, not just, taking it at face value.
Exactly. And that's important for everyone, not just tech people. We all need to be part of this conversation about how we shape the future with AI.
Right, right. That makes sense. But how do we do that? How do we make sure AI is developed and used ethically? It feels like so much power is in the hands of, big tech companies and government.
That's true. But Mollick argues that we need to build ethical considerations into AI from the very beginning.
So not just setting rules afterwards, but making sure AI is designed ethically from the ground up.
Exactly. And that's where individuals can make a difference. By staying informed, by asking questions, by demanding transparency from companies, by supporting good policies, we can help shape a more ethical AI future.
Okay, that's something I can definitely get behind. But I have to say, after all this, I'm still feeling a little uneasy about the future. What gives you hope?
Well, Mollick doesn't sugarcoat things, but he also reminds us of the amazing potential of AI.
Okay.
Think about it. AI could help us solve climate change, create personalized medicine, even make education more accessible.
Right. There is a lot of potential for good.
There is. It's a balancing act for sure, but we can choose to approach AI with hope and a commitment to using it for the right reasons.
So what's the takeaway for our listeners? What do we want them to think about after this deep dive?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. The future of AI isn't set in stone. It's something we're all creating together through the choices we make and the conversations we have.
So it's not about passively waiting to see what happens. It's about actively shaping the future we want.
Exactly. And that starts with being informed, being curious, and yeah, being willing to embrace the possibilities of co-intelligence.
I love that. Well said. That's a great note to end on. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the world of AI.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been an incredible journey, and I, for one, am cautiously optimistic about what the future holds.
Me too. And remember, the future isn't something that happens to us. It's something we create.